Do you find that families are coming now that...
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference now, and gratifyingly, is that I find 50% male, 50% female. There was definitely a bias towards male audience in earlier years, in spite of that nice mixture of ages and social types. Now it's definitely 50-50. It's boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. I mean, it's like a good dinner party coming to a Jethro Tull concert.
What now, you okay?
Well, I said, but you know.
That's okay. It sounds like a dinner party.
It sounds like a sensible analogy until it doesn't bear scrutiny. But
I see the dinner party tour, you know.
Yeah, well, it's basically a laundry tour. Dinner party tours do not occur. Laundry tours, however, do, and this is one of the savage and sad realities about rock and roll, is that unless you exist in the very top spectrum, you know, in the very sort of elitist sort of multi-million-dollar tour, you don't these days take a laundry lady and a tea lady and all the paraphernalia of rock and roll touring as it used to be when, you know, times weren't quite so hard out there in the real world. As you know, lots of people lose lots of money now in rock and roll. It's very, very competitive. As an industry, we're in a state of constant oversupply.
How do they do that? You read about bands going out, they sell out arenas, and then they come back and they're broke.
Yeah. And I'm sure they do. I mean, in many occasions. They always did, except for Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, because we were a lot more canny with not taking huge numbers of people on the road. I mean, we used to go 2 or 3 roadies, and the equipment all went excess baggage on the same aeroplane as we were on in the early days. So we actually made money. Zeppelin and Tull made money. The Stones went out and never made a penny or lost money, even though they were playing much bigger places than we were.
Now, you're living on a farm?
Yes, in the sense that it's a working farm.
You have a working farm, you have a recording studio there?
I harvest, in fact, at the moment, yeah.
What are you harvesting?
Oilseed rape, wheat, barley. My wife tends to look after the English farming side of things. That bit of it, I look after the more northerly exploits involving salmonid aquaculture and fish processing on an increasingly large scale. Which used to be fun, but isn't anymore, because it started off being a kind of small-scale, fun adventure thing to do at the beginning of salmon farming. Now,
kind of getting back to
200 employees and 2 factories and several fish farms, the whole thing is now, it's like a business in which I'm the chairman of a group of companies. I have to attend board meetings, meet bank managers, have lunch with them. I have to do everything except wear a tie.
Now, do you find that, do you like being on the farm and you don't want to tour? I mean, how do you divvy up your year?
No. I mean, I really want to tour, because the time I had this notion in about sort of 84, 85, that I would then, from then on, try and divide my time 50-50 between fish farming, processing, the industry, because of playing a part in the development of the industry as an industry body, a primary food producer. I mean, plus all the environmental implications and all the rest of it. I think formed the environmental committee to talk to the Greenpeaces and Friends of the Earth and all these people to, you know, talk about problems and interchange of ideas. All of that seemed quite important. However, it's now become just really probably about as boring as I'm likely to be in talking about it if we continue any longer on the subject. It's much more fun doing rock and roll. So now I hightail it out of town, do rock and roll. 75% of the time is how I would rather be dividing my time.
Do you find a lot of people, knowing that you have a farm and you do this kind of business, are trying to get you on the bandwagon of environmental issues, or trying to like stick a label on you or do a benefit or something like that? Is that tough to deal with?
It happens all the time, but I
mean, you hear about like Chrissie Hynde and Linda McCartney, you know, stop eating red meat with vegetarians. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, the qualifications for discussing those sort of issues, I mean, I have to be very cynical about. I mean, I have 12 years of fairly serious study of marine biology, in particular of environmental aspects, and do get invited, thankfully, to go and speak to universities, or asked to be rector of a university, or asked to go and speak at symposiums and conferences to the, you know, really meaningful scientists, the guys who really are the boss men in world terms. Now, I always say, sorry, I'm washing my hair that night. I'd be terrified to go and, you know, start talking from that rather pompous standpoint about areas. Although I have a lot of experience and I'm part of writing the book on all of that, I don't feel able to converse really on their terms, because I didn't study beyond a certain age anything to do with science, and you know, I lack the basic, particularly on chemistry. I just can't keep up with them, so it gets a little bit scary. That's why I think, you know, there comes a point where you're doing that stuff. It's nice to think, well, but, you know, really rock and roll is kind of safer, you know, especially because I probably only have another 10 years before I'm definitely, you know.
That's it?
Lose all credibility when it comes to walking on a stage.
What's coming up for you next? Are you going to hit a new tour, or are you going to get together and do a...
Well, yeah, I mean, we're here doing a few sort of radio things and TV things where we actually go and play, you know, acoustic sort of stuff. Now, whether that's some deep-seated kind of preparing myself for a future where I can't jump around anymore and maybe just trying to get the audience used to the idea that we can sit still and play acoustic guitars or nearly acoustic guitars.
Have you done Unplugged on MTV?
Yeah, before it was called Unplugged. I mean, I think we were one of the first bands to come out and do this stuff around the States at a time when people never went on shows like this or any other and actually played live. You know, you would maybe go on and mime to a backing track, or you most likely would just show a bit of video, as we've done. But we started off doing this thing of actually going and really actually playing songs, even including acoustic versions of rock and roll type songs. And as such, I think more and more people, thankfully, are actually doing this, which is not just good for them in terms of the credibility of their musicianship or whatever, but it's good entertainment. And it's back to that principle of the one-off performance. You know, that particular performance is maybe magic, maybe it's terrible, but at least it's never the same. You know, whereas you hear the record, or you simply do a lip-sync job, or watch the old MTV video, God bless it, you know, it's just the same every time you see it. So, you know, I like the live stuff. The scarier, the better.
Sounds good. Would you come back sometime and play for us?
I'd love to do that, sure. Hey, no problem.
We'll see. We have the Chieftains in here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They are good guys.
Yeah, they are good guys.
Yeah.
Okay, well, come back and see us. Ian Anderson, thank you very much. Jethro Tull. The new CD is called Catfish Rising, and it will be out in record stores relatively soon.
2nd of September, I believe.
2nd of September.
Relatively soon.
Thanks for coming by, and enjoy the Mobley tonight. You get another free night on the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Company tonight. Company in the bridal suite, please. No, I'm only kidding.
You sure?
I'm sure you're watching.
We can set it up for you.
No.
Okay, all right.
What about the makeup guy?
Yeah, we'll be right back after this.